Okay, we're stopping.
We are just a few minutes away from opening up the road to a brand new highway, flying things out of
Okay, stop.
Call 911, Chris.
Okay, we're stopping.
We are just a few minutes away from opening up the road to a brand new highway, flying things out of
Okay, stop.
Call 911, Chris.
City. So the National City Police is the agency that is handling this. We've been saying San Diego Police. I don't know if they are involved as well. We do know the National City is certainly part of this situation, and this guy's
He's cruising,
flying.
man.
Yeah, he is flying.
Speed limit there in that area on that street is 55. I'm just guessing, based on watching him from the air here, that he is going significantly faster than 55. But again, it is curious that then he slows down at those upcoming major intersections, which is good, because if you have other drivers who are flying through the intersection going the opposite direction at 55 or 60 miles an hour, you could have a pretty nasty crash. There's Skyfox zooming, giving us a really, really wide picture. You can tell that they are headed farther east as the landscape changes. You see fewer houses. Again, if he is off of, if he was eventually off of Pomerado, potentially off of Poway Road, he could be coming up eventually along maybe the 67 that runs perpendicular to this road. Again, I'm just kind of taking a guess here based on my knowledge of the North County, chasing this silver neon and at a pretty good rate at this point. And again, we don't know why police are chasing him. It could be something as simple as a traffic violation. It could be something as serious as a couple weeks ago in Los Angeles, they wanted to get a guy because they thought he had some evidence in a murder, and that led to a high-speed chase. So at this point, police on their tail, on this guy's tail, and again trying to get him to pull over.
And you mentioned it a couple minutes ago, Jen, the proximity of these police cars to this driver is something we don't often see exactly like this, especially at high speeds. Usually they give them a little bit of a cushion for their own safety. But also to let the situation play out in as judicious a way as they can, so they don't get too close that one problem leads to another problem. But this officer is, I don't know, within 20, 30 feet at most, right behind this guy. And right now they don't seem to be going especially fast, but just about 30 seconds ago were going pretty darn fast there. And one thing that we just saw, one vehicle pulling over to the side, at least they're in some open road. That's a fortunate thing, I guess, but there's so many other cars on the road that don't know this is coming.
Right.
And that's really dangerous, especially when you have a driver who could be, out there driving with a little regard for anybody else, depending on why they're running from the authorities.
I can't tell from this helicopter shot if the police lights are on, but that could also be one of the reasons why they're tailing him so closely, as an indication to the other drivers, like, hey, you got to get out of the way. We need to get to this guy, because oftentimes if they really, really hang back, the other drivers certainly have no idea that this guy is they're being chased, because there's no police in sight. So several cars behind him, police vehicles. We believe it's National City Police, because that's where this chase originated from. It should be noted too that while we have the helicopter in the air and we obviously can see the picture, the police or sheriff's helicopter is also likely in the air as well, and sort of running the operation from the eyes in the sky. Certainly easier there. Here we're seeing.
This is kind of bizarre that he has the open lane if he were to want to take it, but now is in the left turn lane, right behind a couple other vehicles. So you talk about
okay. So here, look
driving.
at the other guy coming from the front. I
Okay,
think they
so
are going to try to stop him.
Box him in right there, yeah. And this is what we talk about, as far as putting other people in potential harm's way. I mean, there's a truck driver right there who's now stuck right in the middle of this.
Yeah, you've got one of those officers there in that unit.
Officer's coming around. He's going to try to get the spike strip out. Yep. He's got to watch his own safety. No, he missed on the spike strip throw. Wow, that's incredible to see that effort. He's trying to get it out of his trunk in time, threw it out there, and this guy drove right around it and avoided it. But as he went through that intersection, putting more people at harm there, because at that point, obviously, he's figuring he's very close to getting caught. That's where this gets especially dangerous.
Right. I think this is going to be the 67. I'm just going to take a guess here. I think Poway Road dead-ended right there, and he made a left turn onto the 67. That's what I'm guessing. We've got our folks working in the newsroom who are trying to get a better location here for you. Andrew, it was so, I often wonder, I feel like, I mean, when you're a policeman and you're in the car, I'm sure that time that he stopped at the stoplight goes so quickly. From us seeing it in the air, it's like, what why don't you act right now and take a move and do something?
Right.
But we often forget that they're trying to coordinate from several different angles. And again, we're at the disadvantage of not knowing who is behind the wheel. If they believe this person is armed and dangerous, they certainly don't want to put their other officers' lives at risk by potentially, say, trying to get out of the car. I mean, that officer made a valiant effort at trying to throw the spike strips to bust his tires. But at any point, if this person is considered armed and dangerous, he could pull out a weapon, and we could have a very serious situation on our hands. So we do not know why they are chasing him, but we can certainly guess that not only are those units talking amongst themselves and trying to almost anticipate where this guy is going, but also talking to their eyes in the sky to figure out the best action next.
Yes, it's worth noting, you know, we always often see how these officers react in situations like this. And, you know, one of the number one things you have to think about is obviously the innocent people standing by who don't even know what's happening, A, but you want to protect them. But B, officers who are out there just doing their job and have families to go home to, I mean, they have to protect themselves too. When you have a driver who might have nothing to lose, you just don't know. It's a lot of unknowns in a situation like this. So they have to put their safety first. They have to put innocent people standing by, their safety first as well. And then, you know, then becomes the effort to try to stop this person. So, you know, it's very interesting to watch how they play in a situation where he comes to a stop or comes to an intersection, and they might be able to box him in. But again, if somebody has nothing to lose, that's not somebody you want to roll the dice with.
We just got confirmation this driver is on the 67, headed as Scripps Poway Parkway, dead-ended there as I anticipated, and then you could either go right or left. If he had gone to the right, he would have dumped out on the 67 into the lakeside area. He's decided to go left. That's taking him up toward Ramona. I grew up in the Rancho Bernardo area, so I kind of had a feeling of where he was. There's something I want to bring to y'all's attention, and that is this two-lane road. The 67 is known as one of the most dangerous corridors in San Diego County, and you can see why, Andrew, is they are now starting to wind up this sort of semi-inclined mountain here, and it is only a two-lane road going one direction in each way. And if there's any type of traffic backup, for example, you know, something else happens and the guy has to slow down, we could be in a pretty precarious situation. But this is a very dangerous road for drivers just going normal at the speed limit. Here it's opening up on the right lane there to those two lanes as a potential passing lane, and then it'll go back down again to single lane in each direction. But this is definitely known as one of the most precarious drives in San Diego as the 67 continues to wind up toward Ramona and then eventually continue up the mountain.
And just within that shot, you can see 5 police cruisers in close proximity, chasing pretty close here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and there's even more beyond that. That's just within this shot from Skyfox. There's number 6, 7, and more beyond them. So very, very close proximity that these cruisers have been staying with this driver. This chase started in National City this afternoon, and National City Police are part of this chase, following this guy all the way out to State Route 67. And like you said, Jen, this is a road where things can get pretty precarious given the other drivers that could be out there. Maybe it's a time right now where there are fewer. That might be a fortunate thing. We've seen a number of cars coming in the opposite direction, but not a lot going in the direction that they are. So that's one thing you kind of hope for. You don't want anybody who's innocent just out there in the middle of their day, not knowing this is coming, getting kind of caught in the crossfire, if you will, of a situation where you have a driver who's driving erratically, a driver who has reason to run from authorities, and then you have all these cop cars behind him chasing pretty close.
Again, we are trying to get confirmation on why they are chasing this person. We don't know if there's one person in the car or multiple people besides the driver. And it's always interesting, Andrew, when we've watched chases, if this person is headed somewhere specific or they're just sort of randomly driving. At this point, I'm going to guess it kind of seemed like he was randomly driving, because as he was trying to avoid those spike strips, he made that big hard left turn onto the 67. Not sure if that was where he was intending to go.
Off.
Right, it looks like he's slowing down here on the shoulder. We'll watch here to see what's going to happen, and presumably all these police officers are going to sort of create a horseshoe around him, or at least come up behind him. They are obviously now out of their vehicles, using that front door as a shield, and now they will start talking to the driver as we see that driver has pulled over and is now starting to get out of the car.
So what they do is they instruct him pretty clearly here on what to do. They say if you're going to give up here, you have to put your hands outside the vehicle, hands up, and they want them to usually throw the keys out as well. And it looks like this driver appears to be surrendering. There's a number of reasons why he may have done it right where he did it. One being perhaps running out of gas. Two being perhaps he, I don't know if they've been able to negotiate with this person on the phone, but ultimately it looks like, don't know if there's another person in the vehicle. We just know of the driver at this point. But if this person is in fact giving up, there's a specific number of instructions that these officers give them to protect themselves from any potential harm that this person might be willing to do to them, given the erratic nature of the situation. And right now it appears that they're following those instructions.
Right. Again, they're telling them to move slowly, keep their hands up where they can see them. They will likely have this person with their hands up walk about 10 to 15 feet away from the vehicle and face away from them. So be facing continually northbound on the 67, hands up, and then get on their knees and lie flat on the pavement there, where they are unable to reach for any type of weapon or be a threat to those officers. At that point, when the police feel like it is safe, they will approach that driver and hopefully cuff them without any type of further incident. I am noticing, Andrew, if you look at that first cop car there in the front row on the left, you see the canine that is out. We've seen a couple different chases also recently up in Los Angeles where they did send that canine to get the driver because the driver wasn't complying and they felt like their safety was at risk. And let me tell you, you get that canine unleashed on you and you're not going anywhere.
No, it's worth noting we are, this is live, so there's a lot of different situations that could play out, so we're just kind of keeping an eye from a distance here with Sky Fox above and hoping that this goes as police plan, which is to get this driver with their hands up and to surrender safely. And it appears that they're out of the car. It looks like they have their hands up. You never know, though. I mean, if they go to reach for something, you know, cops have to protect themselves, and that can end in a way that we don't want to see. But it looks like this guy does have his hands up and is backing up. Hands are on the top of the trunk right there. And hands are now, it looks like, okay, now he's lying down on the ground. Kind of surprising to see him how close he is to the vehicle, because like you said, Jen, often they get him away from the vehicle, but that guy is doing what they're asking, which is lying on the ground, hands behind his head. And now officers will slowly approach as they are. Look how many there are. There's at least a dozen of them swarming in. Now their job's not over, because now they have to look in the vehicle. They have to make sure there's no other people, no other potential threats, maybe look for evidence. They have to open the trunk. They have to go through a number of steps now to make sure that this threat is in fact over, because it's a situation where they have a lot of unknowns. And now that process begins as they take this driver into custody.
Looks like he was the only person in the vehicle. I'm not seeing anybody else get out of the car, and here they are, again, taking that person in custody. It is a man. Right? It looks like that is a guy, yes. It looks like he's wearing a suit, actually. They're walking him back. He is in handcuffs. They will put him in the car there. You see there's a couple canine units. Notice the top of the SUVs there indicating that those were canine units. I also saw a couple undercover.
Vai sair da Machado sentido. Tinha Machado e chegou na praça do meu medo. As caminhoneiras aí, parou no sinal pra... Vai fechar, vai pular aí, vai pular. Vai pegar o anel, vai pegar o anel. Voltou pra que tinha Machado, voltou pra que tinha Machado, hein. Sentido 13 aí. Tá chegando na estação.